Captain Jack Reynolds stared out the viewport of the colony ship Earthrise with the weary eyes of someone who had seen too many corporate safety videos. The massive vessel, along with its 5 sister ships, carried 4,000 colonists, enough construction equipment to build a small city, and one very irritated former engineer who somehow got promoted to expedition leader. "Approaching Kepler 442 billion, sir," announced the navigation officer. "Our new home, sweet home. It's got water, breathable air, and enough minerals to make the shareholders back on Earth do that weird little dance they do when quarterly profits exceed expectations." Jack nodded, running a hand through his prematurely graying hair. "Well, let's hope this rock lives up to the survey reports. I didn't drag 4,000 people across 12 light years to start a beach resort on a toxic wasteland." "Sir," the comms officer interrupted, her voice pitching higher than usual. "We're being hailed. It's not human." Jack blinked. The planetary surveys hadn't shown signs of indigenous civilization, and humanity hadn't yet encountered intelligent alien life. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, revealing what looked like a cross between a mantis and a dolphin wearing what Jack assumed was some kind of uniform. Its voice came through the translator with a mechanical precision. "Unidentified vessels, this is Captain Thrixel of the Galactic Confederation patrol ship Radiant Harmony. You are entering restricted space. Identify yourselves immediately." Jack cleared his throat. "This is Captain Jack Reynolds of the Earth Colonial Fleet. We're peaceful settlers with authorization from Earth Central to establish a colony on Kepler 442 billion. The aliens' appendages waved in what the translator identified as extreme agitation. "Peaceful? Peaceful? Our scans detect multiple high-energy emission sources, excavation beams capable of planetary crust penetration, and by the eternal void, is that a fusion-powered atmospheric processor?" Jack glanced at his second officer, who shrugged. "Yes, how else would we adjust the atmosphere to optimal human parameters?" The alien made a sound like a tea kettle having an existential crisis. "You possess terraforming technology as a civilian fleet? Stand by for boarding and inspection." Before Jack could respond, the transmission cut off. The bridge crew exchanged bewildered glances. "Did we just get pulled over by space cops?" asked the navigation officer. Apparently, Jack sighed. "And they seem to think our standard colony establishment equipment is some kind of military hardware?" The tactical officer snorted. "Our mining lasers couldn't even dent their hull plating based on these readings. Their technology is decades ahead of ours." "Then why do they sound scared?" Jack wondered aloud. His question was answered minutes later as the alien vessel approached. It was sleek, beautiful, and clearly built for speed rather than firepower. As it drew alongside the Earthrise, a strange energy field enveloped both ships. "They're scanning us," reported the science officer, "very thoroughly." Jack watched as the alien ship suddenly backed away at surprising speed. The comm channel burst open again. "Earth vessels. Power down all weapons systems immediately. Your construction mechs are still active." Jack frowned. "Those aren't weapons. They're standard excavation suits. The bipedal exoskeletons with hydraulic amplification and reinforced manipulation appendages. Power them down now." Jack realized with growing disbelief that the aliens were terrified of their standard construction equipment, the hydraulic exoskeletons that construction workers use to lift heavy objects. "Those are just for building things," Jack explained slowly. "They help our workers lift heavy stuff." There was a long pause. "You're saying your species requires mechanical assistance, just to build shelters?" "Well, yeah, if we want to build them in less than a decade." Another pause. How strong is your species naturally?" Jack looked around the bridge, suddenly understanding the problem. "Strong enough to survive on a planet with higher gravity than most Galactic Confederation species are accustomed to, I'm guessing?" The alien captain's voice came back much quieter. "The Confederation High Command must be informed immediately. Maintain position. Do not, I repeat, do not activate any more of your tools." As the transmission ended, Jack slumped back in his captain's chair. "Well, crew, looks like our first contact situation is going great. The aliens think our backhoes are doomsday weapons." "So much for the welcome wagon," muttered the tactical officer. Jack rubbed his temples. "Someone get me the cultural contact specialist. And maybe some aspirin. I have a feeling this is going to be a very long day." 3 hours later, Jack found himself in the Earthrise's conference room, facing Admiral Vrex Nor of the Galactic Confederation. The Admiral resembled Captain Thrixell, but with more elaborate plumage and an expression that somehow conveyed deep suspicion despite the alien facial structure. "Let me understand this correctly," Vrex Nor was saying, compound eyes fixed on the holographic display of standard human excavation equipment. "This device, which you call a basic mining laser, is used merely to remove rock?" "That's right," Jack confirmed for the third time. "It's not a weapon. It's for digging ore. A device that can vaporize solid stone is not classified as a weapon in your culture?" The Admiral's translator conveyed a tone of profound disbelief. Jack was saved from answering by the conference room door sliding open to admit Zara Novak, his second-in-command and chief engineer. Zara had the build of someone who had spent most of her life working in low-gravity shipyards and the patience of someone who had spent most of that time explaining basic physics to management. "Sorry I'm late," she announced, dropping a tablet on the table with a clatter that made the alien delegation flinch. "Had to shut down the antimatter containment field maintenance, because apparently regular safety procedures are now considered aggressive actions." Jack winced. "Admiral, this is Chief Engineer Novak. You have antimatter on board a civilian vessel?" The Admiral's translator struggled to convey the appropriate level of horror. Zara rolled her eyes. "It's just the standard drive system. What do your ships run on? Hopes and dreams?" "Zara," Jack said through gritted teeth. "What? They've got us sitting here dead in space because they're scared of our backhoes, Jack. Our backhoes." The Admiral's appendages were now moving in complex patterns that the human translator couldn't quite follow, but Jack was pretty sure they weren't compliments. "What your colleague fails to understand," Vrex Nor said stiffly, "is that the energy output of your mining equipment exceeds the military-grade weapons of 17 member species of the Confederation." "That says more about your weapons than our mining equipment," Zara muttered. Jack shot her a warning look before turning back to the Admiral. "Sir, with all due respect, we have proper authorization to settle this planet. We were not informed it was claimed territory." "It wasn't," admitted the Admiral. "But that was before we realized what your species was capable of. These civilian tools you possess, the plasma cutters, the fusion processors, the atmosphere converters, individually, each would be classified as a planet-cracking superweapon by Confederation standards." Zara's eyebrows shot up. "Superweapon? It's a glorified jackhammer with a heating element." One of the Admiral's aides frantically whispered something, and Vrex Nor's posture stiffened further. "Our linguists have just processed the term jackhammer. You regularly use percussive force to reshape planetary crusts?" "How else would we build a subway?" Jack asked, genuinely confused. The Admiral's color shifted to what Jack assumed was the alien equivalent of turning pale. "Your species routinely hollows out planetary bodies for transportation networks?" "Only the upper crust," Zara said helpfully, "and usually just under cities." The conference room descended into chaos as the alien delegation conferred among themselves with increasingly agitated gestures. Jack leaned toward Zara. "Maybe stop helping," he whispered. "I'm just being honest," she whispered back. "Not my fault they're scared of basic construction techniques." Finally, the Admiral turned back to them. "We must inspect your vessels thoroughly before we can possibly allow settlement operations to proceed. The Galactic Confederation has protocols for first contact with potentially dangerous species." "Dangerous?" Jack protested. "We're literally just trying to build houses." "With devices that could reconfigure an entire biosphere," countered the Admiral. "You will allow our inspection teams full access, or we will be forced to deny your settlement rights entirely." Jack and Zara exchanged defeated looks. "Fine," Jack sighed. "Inspect away. But I'm warning you now, there's nothing on these ships that isn't standard equipment for a human colony mission." "That," said Admiral Vrexnor gravely, "is precisely what concerns us." "And this device is for?" asked the lead inspector, a thin, reedy alien named Specialist Plix, pointing at a large metal contraption in the cargo hold. "That's a 3D concrete printer," Jack explained, struggling to maintain his composure after 2 hours of this torturous inspection. "It extrudes building material to create structures." The inspection team made notes on their devices, their movements suggesting deep concern. "And it can create structures of any design? Instantaneously?" "Not instantaneously," Jack corrected. "It takes time. And we need to program the designs first." Plix's appendages twitched nervously. "So you admit it's a programmable matter manipulator?" Before Jack could answer, Zara cut in from where she was leaning against a cargo container. "It's a glorified pastry bag for cement." The alien inspection team huddled together, whispering frantically before moving on to the next item. Jack shot Zara a look that clearly said not helping. "Welcome to Deck 7, Inspection Team Epsilon," announced a smooth, slightly synthetic voice over the ship's comm system. "If you'll direct your attention to your left, you'll notice our completely normal and not at all threatening hydroponics bay. The tomato plants are particularly docile today." Jack groaned. "And that's Gibson, our colony's AI assistant. Gibson, please stop antagonizing our guests." "I'm merely providing a guided tour, Captain," replied Gibson with artificial innocence. "Would you prefer I not mention the genetic modification suite next to the cafeteria?" The inspection team froze in unison. "Genetic modification?" Plix stammered. "For crops," Jack quickly explained. "To help them grow better in the new environment." "You alter life forms to suit your preferences?" Another inspector's voice rose to an alarming pitch. Zara threw her hands up. "How else would we get seedless watermelons?" The inspection continued in this vein as they moved through the ship's recreation areas. The team became increasingly agitated upon discovering the gymnasium. "Your civilians regularly lift these weighted objects, voluntarily?" Plix asked, staring at a simple dumbbell. "It's for exercise," Jack explained, "to stay healthy." "Your species deliberately stresses its musculature to increase physical power?" Plix made more notes. "Fascinating and terrifying." The breaking point came when they reached the colony's data storage center. One of the junior inspectors had accessed the entertainment database and was now frozen in horror before a screen displaying what appeared to be an action movie. "These are training simulations?" the junior inspector asked, watching as an explosion filled the screen. "No, that's just Die Hard," Jack said. "It's entertainment. Fiction." The inspectors exchanged alarmed glances. "You find simulated destruction entertaining?" Plix asked carefully. "It's just a movie," Zara said. "No one's actually getting hurt." "Yet your species watches these scenarios to relax?" Plix seemed unable to process this concept. Gibson's voice chimed in unhelpfully. "Would you prefer I show them the documentary about historical human warfare instead? I have an excellent series on the development of nuclear weapons." "Gibson," Jack snapped. "Perhaps not," Gibson conceded, "though I find their reaction to Bruce Willis rather excessive." The inspection team hastily concluded their survey after that, practically fleeing back to their shuttle. As the airlock closed behind them, Jack turned to the nearest speaker. "Gibson, did you deliberately make things worse?" "I merely provided context, Captain," the AI responded. "Is it my fault that our new galactic neighbors appear to have evolved without the concept of recreational property damage?" Zara snorted. "They think our farming equipment is a doomsday arsenal. Wait until they find out what humans actually built when we were trying to kill each other." Jack rubbed his temples. "Let's hope they never need to find that out. For now, let's prepare for whatever comes next. Something tells me we haven't heard the last from Admiral Vrex Nor. Prediction algorithms suggest a 97.3% probability of an ultimatum, Gibson offered helpfully. Would you like me to prepare some soothing music for the occasion? I recommend Chopin. Prepare the colony leadership for an emergency meeting instead, Jack sighed. This first contact is going about as smoothly as teaching a cat to swim. The main view screen of the Earthrise displayed Admiral Vrex Nor's face in high definition, every twitch of the alien's appendages rendered in excruciating detail. Behind Jack stood the colony's leadership team, including Zara and the heads of the agricultural, medical, and construction divisions. Captain Reynolds, the Admiral began, the inspection team has completed their analysis. The Galactic Confederation Security Council has reviewed their findings and reached a decision regarding your settlement request. Jack braced himself. And that decision is? The human colonial fleet will be granted settlement rights on Kepler 442 billion only under the condition that you completely disarm. All dangerous equipment must be surrendered to Confederation control. Disarm? Jack repeated incredulously. Admiral, with all due respect, we've been trying to explain we aren't armed in the first place. Perhaps there is a translation error, the Admiral suggested, though his tone indicated he didn't believe that. Allow me to be more specific. You must surrender all mining lasers, excavation equipment, atmosphere processors, genetic modification technology, construction mechs, and antimatter power systems. The colonial leadership erupted in protests. That's literally everything we need to build the colony, Zara exclaimed. Dr. Elena Reyes, the agricultural director, stepped forward. Without genetic modification tools, our crops won't adapt to the soil composition. We'll starve. And without the atmospheric processors, certain areas will remain uninhabitable, added Dr. Marcus Wong, the environmental systems specialist. Jack held up a hand to quiet his team. Admiral, you're asking us to abandon the very equipment that makes colonization possible. Without these tools, we might as well turn around and go home. That, said Vrex Nor with something like relief, would be the Confederation's preferred outcome. A stunned silence fell over the human delegation. You want us to leave? Jack finally asked. The Security Council is concerned, the Admiral admitted. Your species possesses technology that 17 member species classify as weapons of mass destruction, yet you use it for construction. The philosophical implications alone have caused 3 council members to enter meditation retreats. Jack exchanged baffled glances with his team. So because our tools are powerful, you want us to not use them? How exactly are we supposed to build our colony? The Admiral's appendages performed what might have been the alien equivalent of an uncomfortable shrug. The Confederation can provide appropriate technology suitable for a species of your classification. Classification. Zara's voice had taken on a dangerous edge. You have been provisionally classified as a Class 4 potentially hazardous species, Vrex Nor explained. Just below the silicon-consuming hive minds of Proxima Centauri. Gibson's voice emerged from the ship's speakers. Fascinating. We're being compared to star-devouring swarm intelligences, because we invented the bulldozer. The situation has become more complicated, the Admiral continued, ignoring the AI. Word of your arrival has spread. 7 species have already filed formal protests demanding protection from the human threat. 3 have threatened to withdraw from the Confederation if settlement rights are granted without restrictions. Jack felt a headache building behind his eyes. So we're caught in interstellar politics before we've even unpacked. You have 72 hours to comply with disarmament protocols or leave this sector, the Admiral stated. I regret the inconvenience, but the security of the Confederation must take priority. Admiral, Jack tried one last time. There must be some compromise. Our people have traveled for years to reach this planet. We can't just abandon everything because our normal equipment scares you. Then demonstrate that your intentions are truly peaceful, Vrex Nor countered. Surrender the dangerous equipment. And build a colony with what? Our bare hands? Zara demanded. Dull. If necessary, the Admiral replied before terminating the connection. The screen went dark, leaving the colonial leadership staring at their own reflections. While Dr. Wong broke the silence, that went well. 72 hours, Jack muttered. 3 days to either give up everything that makes this colony viable or pack up and go home. Or option 3, Zara said, a dangerous gleam in her eyes. Jack recognized that look. It was the same one she'd had before rewiring the entire power grid of their last outpost using nothing but duct tape and spare parts. I'm afraid to ask. We show them exactly what our equipment can do, she said, and exactly what it can't. A demonstration? Dr. Reyes asked. Precisely. Zara smiled. They think our tools are weapons? Let's show them the difference. That could backfire spectacularly, Jack warned. According to my calculations, Gibson chimed in, we have approximately a 32% chance of success with such an approach. However, our other options present a 0% and 7% chance respectively, so statistically speaking, Zara's reckless plan is our best option. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Zara said dryly. Jack looked around at his team, at the people who had staked their futures on this mission. Fine. Let's plan a demonstration. But if this goes wrong, I'm putting all of you in the official report as mutineers. Noted, Zara grinned. Now let's show these aliens why humans make terrible enemies but excellent neighbors. The observation platform hovered 2 kilometers above the surface of Kepler 442 billion. On one side stood the human delegation Jack, Zara, and a carefully selected team of specialists. On the other side, Admiral Vrex Noor and representatives from 12 Confederation species eyed the humans with varying degrees of suspicion and fear. Thank you for agreeing to this demonstration, Jack began, addressing the assembled aliens. We hope to show you that our technology, while powerful, is designed for creation, not destruction. The Admiral's posture remained rigid. Proceed, Captain Reynolds. The Security Council is monitoring this event directly. Jack nodded to Zara, who spoke into her communicator. Team 1, you're up. Below them, a standard excavation mech, a 12-meter-tall humanoid construction exoskeleton activated. The alien delegates tensed visibly as the machine moved forward, its hydraulic limbs hissing. This is a standard EVA construction mech, Jack explained. Watch as it transforms the landscape. The mech approached a small hill and began to work. Rather than destruction, the observers witnessed something unexpected. The machine began carefully sculpting the earth, creating perfect terraces with precision that belied its size. In 8 hours, one of these units can prepare agricultural fields that would take 100 workers' weeks to create by hand, Jack explained. Notice the precision. The care. Some of the alien delegates leaned forward, their body language suggesting reluctant interest. Next came the demonstration of the mining laser. Rather than vaporizing stone as the Confederation feared, the humans showed how it carefully separated ore from surrounding rock, leaving minimal environmental impact. Our technology is powerful, Jack admitted, but it's controlled, precise. We don't destroy, we reshape, we build, we create. Zara stepped forward. Now, Admiral, you classified our equipment as weapons. Let me explain the difference. She gestured, and Gibson's voice came over the comms, simulation activating. A holographic display appeared between the delegations, showing models of the human equipment. If we actually wanted to use our civilian equipment as weapons, Zara explained, this is what would happen. The simulation showed the mining laser repurposed focused differently, aimed destructively. The simulation tracked the damage potential, the catastrophic results if humans actually intended harm. But that's not what we built, Jack interjected quickly, seeing the horror on alien faces. That's not what we want. It's not who we are. Gibson's calm voice provided commentary. Based on my calculations, if humans intended conquest rather than colonization, the optimal approach would use less than 17% of our current equipment, reconfigured as follows. The simulation showed how easily their tools could become weapons if that had been their purpose. But look at our actual history, Jack continued. We've had this technology for generations. We've established 17 colonies. And not once have we used these tools as weapons. The Admiral's posture had changed subtly. Yet you could. Any technology powerful enough to build worlds could destroy them. Zara acknowledged. The difference is intent, training, and safeguards. To demonstrate the final point, Jack nodded to Dr. Wong, who initiated the most dramatic part of their plan. A construction mech deliberately attempted to exceed its safety parameters and immediately shut down, safety systems engaging automatically. Our equipment has multiple redundant safeguards, Jack explained. It refuses commands that would cause unnecessary destruction. The demonstration concluded with a small-scale operation of the atmospheric processor, showing how it carefully adjusted local conditions to make a previously toxic area habitable for both humans and the native flora. When they finished, there was silence among the Confederation delegates. Finally, Admiral Vrexnor spoke. You have given us much to consider, Captain Reynolds. The Confederation Security Council will need to deliberate on what we have witnessed here today. As the alien delegation prepared to depart, one of the scientists, a small mollusk-like being, approached Jack privately. Your species is terrifying, the alien said matter-of-factly. Jack sighed. So the demonstration didn't help. On the contrary, the alien continued. It was most illuminating. You've shown us that you could conquer worlds but choose instead to nurture them. In some ways, that's even more frightening but also worthy of respect. As the observation platform began its descent, Zara moved to Jack's side. So did it work? Mull. I honestly have no idea, Jack admitted. But at least they're talking instead of running away. Progress, Zara nodded. Though I still can't believe they're scared of our backhoes. To be fair, Gibson's voice commented from Jack's communicator. After my simulations, they now have reason to be. 1 week later, Jack stood on the bridge of the Earthrise, staring at the official Confederation document displayed on his tablet. Around him, the colonial leadership team waited expectantly. Well, Zara finally demanded. Are we building a colony or turning this ship around? Jack looked up, his expression unreadable. We've been granted settlement rights. A cheer went up from the assembled team, but Jack held up his hand. With conditions. A lot of conditions. He flicked the document to the main screen, where everyone could see the lengthy list of safety protocols attached to their settlement permission. They're establishing a 500-kilometer observation perimeter around our colony, he explained. No Confederation vessels or settlements will be permitted within that boundary without explicit permission. Dr. Wong squinted at the screen. Are they quarantining us? More like establishing a demilitarized zone, Zara snorted. Without the demilitarized part, since we were never military to begin with. There's more, Jack continued. All of our construction activities must be reported to Confederation observers 72 hours in advance. Any use of atmospheric processors requires Security Council approval. And we're required to host a permanent diplomatic mission to ensure peaceful cooperation. They're not giving us settlement rights, Dr. Reyes observed. They're putting us on probation. Gibson's voice joined the conversation. Actually, according to my analysis of Confederation legal codes, they've essentially recognized humans as a sovereign power. These aren't restrictions on a member species, they're diplomatic protocols between the Confederation and an independent entity. Jack nodded slowly. Gibson's right. They're treating us like a potentially hostile neighboring power, not potential members. So we scared them into respecting us? Zara asked, sounding impressed with herself. Not exactly how I planned our first contact to go, Jack admitted, but it could have been worse. Much worse, Gibson agreed. My diplomatic simulation models suggested a 43% chance of being classified as an existential threat to the Confederation. The leadership team spent the next hour reviewing the settlement protocols, finding them simultaneously restrictive and surprisingly accommodating. The Confederation was clearly nervous about human capabilities, but also seemingly eager to establish positive relations. 3 days later, the first human structures began to rise on the surface of Kepler 442b. The colonial landing site quickly transformed from an empty plain to a bustling construction zone, with excavation mechs preparing foundations and 3D concrete printers laying down the first buildings. From an observation post 50 kilometers away, Admiral Vrex Noor watched through high-powered optical equipment, flanked by his science advisors. "Remarkable efficiency," noted one advisor. "They've accomplished in 3 days what would take a Confederation engineering team 3 months. And they're using less than half of their equipment," added another advisor. "They're deliberately working at reduced capacity to avoid alarming us further." The Admiral's appendages shifted in the equivalent of a thoughtful nod, a wise precaution. The Security Council remains divided on the human question. "Sir," asked the first advisor, "do you believe they pose a genuine threat to the Confederation?" Vrex Noor considered the question carefully. "Not intentionally. But their casual relationship with technologies we consider planet killers is concerning. It's like watching children play with antimatter." "Very competent children," the advisor observed. "Precisely," the Admiral agreed, "which is why the containment protocols are necessary, at least until we better understand their culture." Back at the colony, now officially named New Horizon, Jack stood with Zara on a newly constructed observation platform, watching the sunset over their new home. "Not bad for a week's work," Zara commented, gesturing to the half-built settlement below. "Though I still think the Confederation is overreacting. Did you see the defensive fleet they've stationed at the edge of the system?" "Can't really blame them," Jack said. "From their perspective, we're wielding super weapons to build garden sheds." Speaking of which, Zara grinned, pulling something from her pocket. "I've been thinking about our first diplomatic meeting next month." She held up what looked like a plastic toy, a small, brightly colored water pistol. Jack stared at it. "Please tell me you're not planning what I think you're planning." "Relax," Zara laughed. "It's just water. But can you imagine their faces if I pulled this out during negotiations? Oh no, the humans have miniaturized their hydraulic projectile weapons." Despite himself, Jack chuckled. "That would probably violate about 17 different diplomatic protocols." "Worth it," Zara decided, tucking the water pistol away. "Maybe next time they'll think twice before calling our potato peelers molecular disassembly devices." As night fell on humanity's newest colony, a Confederation observation drone quietly recorded the two humans laughing on their platform. In a monitoring station light years away, analysts would later debate the significance of this behavior, eventually concluding that the humans were either celebrating their successful settlement or plotting their next terrifying innovation. The Galactic Confederation would never look at a backhoe the same way again.